So people are logging in. For the time being now, as you all very well know already, this is an advanced diploma. So we would have to work together. This is not going to be another online lecture, because if that is the case, you all won't be benefiting from this particular program, because if doing a diploma is one thing, getting into the level of higher diploma, advanced postgraduate diploma is of a completely a different caliber. So you got to realize the gravity of it. This program, inclusive of my module plus the modules of all other lecturers, would give you the essential knowledge. I mean, if you are a banker, till you finish your banking career, you will be learning. There's no two words about it. I mean, you can't learn all the things about credit in a span of 6 months. That is out of the question. But still, when it comes to credit, it's an ever evolving area. When it comes to operations and all the other technical areas, you can learn, but credit, it comes with experience. So generational wise, including me, we have been passed on certain information, certain practical ways and means of doing things. That is what we are going to get. So though you can't get the 100% idea, like you can't be experienced all of a sudden just because you do this postgraduate diploma, but still you'd be a better quality credit assessor or a credit evaluator or a credit executive if you closely follow this thing and inculcate all the things you learn within this course into your banking practices. So my invitation is, by the way, how many, has any one of you attended my lectures before? None of you? Okay, no problem. Right. So my lectures generally, my sessions, I would rather call it, it has only a few ground rules. Thanks for all the responses, guys. The basic ground rule is you got to participate, right? I know online lectures, online sessions, it is a convenient way. Even if I am the person who is getting trained, I would do the same thing. I might miss certain lectures because you can easily catch it up once you log into the portal later at a convenient time. But still, if you happen to log in, it gives you an added advantage, because I am going to keep my session as interactive as possible. So that is my normal way, be it an online session or a classroom session. So if we are there, I'll be asking questions from you and you got to respond, right? It would not be technical questions, guys, don't worry. It is not going to be rocket science and all these technical jargon. No, I'll be asking you very particular, simple, rational questions, right? That is the way we are going to proceed, because credit is a very rational process. All right. Okay, that's the main and possibly the only ground rule I'm having in my lectures. So before now, we are going to be a group or a team during the next 16 hours for Sunday afternoon sessions. So we have to know each other. I have to know your level, the educational level, the professional background, work experience, and certain things, so that I can pitch my presentation accordingly. Because I don't want to leave any one of you bamboozled without getting the essence. So I can relate each and everything to your backgrounds. Shall we start? What I need is your possibly your educational background and your position maybe, and the bank and the job role. What you do in a very brief manner, right? Shall we start from Amila? Amila, are you there? Harshana? Hasini? Guys, I hope you guys are there. Hasini? No? Ibran? Okay, you can switch on your mic, Ibran. That's fine. I need a brief introduction. Yeah.
Yeah, I is from Nindaur, some eastern coastal of Sri Lanka,
I'm sorry.
attached to commercial bank
I couldn't follow you.
as a manager.
I couldn't follow you, Faiz.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, Faiz from Nindaur, which is
Okay.
eastern coast in Sri Lanka.
Right.
Yeah, from commercial attached commercial bank
Uh-huh. And you are
as a
as a
manager.
manager, and you are coming from a management background, is it? Your education,
No, actually, I started from the bottom.
right?
Education is BSc Business Administration
Ah,
from
wonderful.
Gabor and completed a diploma in
Ah,
banking.
great, great. Thank you, Faiz. Thanks. Pamudi,
Yeah.
Pamudi. Okay, that's fine, Pamudi. We'll keep in touch with the text. That's fine. Then, Senari.
Hello, I'm Samara, working at
Yes.
National Savings Bank as
Okay.
branch manager, and my first degree I obtained from USDFP in mathematics, and I did business management master in Pune.
Wonderful. Thank you,
Thank
Samara.
you.
Okay. Suranga? Suranga. Uchita? There's some issue with the mic, right? That's fine, Uchita. You get it connected, otherwise you'll be losing out in answering. Vidura?
I'm Vidura
Yeah.
from Kulyavitiya, and I'm working in commercial bank as a junior executive
Okay.
assistant. I completed DABF in last year.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Vidura. Guys who at the top, Amila and David just joined. Buddhika, anyone want to introduce him or herself? Please, I would like to get to know you all. All right. So I have working at, okay. Thank you. Right. All right, guys. So I presume from the feedback I already got, and from my past experience, most of you must be involved in the finance sector. That is why you have this big liking or the aptitude towards learning something new in credit. So let us focus on that. By the way, you have heard of, I hope you guys are familiar with the recession which we all experience, the global recession. I generally, oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Kasun Vijayaratna. I have been lecturing for the past good 6 years by now. I completed my bachelor's degree in human resource management at University of Sri Jayewardenepura, and I have an MBA from Cardiff University. Then I have completed my management ACMA and marketing, that is also from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and I have banking and CPA. So that is my educational background. And I have experience in banking more than 10 years by now, and I'm functioning as yes, thank you Hasini for the information. Thanks Suranga. Yeah, I'm functioning as a senior manager at DFCC Bank at the moment. So that's my background. Getting back to the topic, I took part in one of these rather forums, banking forums, and after the recession, many gurus, many analysts, many experts, they came up with reasons for this particular recession, for the global recession to happen. But the best analysis, best explanation I have heard of the recession was from an Ayurvedic doctor, guys. But that was at a banking forum, right? He said, but any one of you can explain me? Can any one of you brief what happened in that global recession? What is your opinion? Just shoot it up. Nothing wrong here. We all are learning. Economic decline triggered by what, Samara? Indeed, economic decline, yes. But what is the root cause of the issue? What triggered it? Due to the pandemic situation. No. Sorry, not that recession. I'm referring to the recession we experienced about 6-7 years back. Thank you, Buddhiga. That Ayurvedic doctor said, guys, right? I tell this thing to my colleagues also, to my subordinates, and all the credit related lectures I conduct. He very simply said, guys, right? The difference between poison and medicine is the dosage. Difference between, those are golden words. I still remember it. The difference between, that's fine, Uchita. The difference between poison and medicine is the dosage, right? So basically, it was due to overlending. When there is a good customer, right? And especially when there is when we have the target pressure, we tend to overload the client. If he pays well, we tend to give him more, right? So golden rule of credit. Credit is a very good thing. We need credit. Customers also need credit. But always remember, difference between medicine and poison is the dosage, guys. Even the topmost customer, prime customer you are having, number one customer you are having in your branch, in your bank even, can go bad if he is geared too much beyond his capacity. That we got to have in our minds. So that is why we are learning credit. That is why we need credit analysis. Come on, what's the difference between the personal money lenders and us, the so-called polymudalalis? Who is better, in your opinion? Are polymudalalis better or are banks? Banks. Yeah, banks are better because we do the proper credit analysis. Otherwise, polymudalalis are better because they lend their own money. We lend public money, right? We lend the money we borrow from others. Polymudalalis lend their own money. So if we are not accountable for the public funds we are obtaining, we are collecting, then it is a criminal offense. Those are public funds, guys. So you got to assess all the credit, just like the way you will be evaluating and assessing when you yourself pocketing out and giving money to a third party. The same way, the same responsibility, the same weight, the same risk factors you got to consider and take into account, right? So it is it might differ from person to person, from evaluation to evaluation, facility to facility, but there are so many ways, so many tools we'll be discussing. I'll be equipping you with all those tools, and you have to make use of those tools very well. Okay, let us go to our presentation. Not that, not that. All right. Okay. Now, before we go into our presentation, guys, 1 minute, I start presenting. I'm presenting. Okay. Okay. Now, these particular things, the final ones we'll be discussing. The initial ones we'll be discussing, those are very, technical matters, right? Subject matter. It is not very entertaining, guys, but my way is, I'll share my way with you, right? You can't buy heart credit. You can't buy heart management even, right? There are certain models, yes, you may have to buy heart, but my way is, you have to learn it by the logic. If you learn the thing by the logic, then you can apply it anywhere. You know, always question why it is happening. What is this? Why have they come up with something like this, right? Always follow the logic, follow the rationale. Credit is a very rational area, right? So before we get into those technical subject matters, from your practical experience, tell me, what are we analyzing? What is the first and the foremost thing you have to look in a prospective buyer? If somebody comes to your organization and requests a credit facility, What is the first and the foremost thing you will be looking at? From the credit appraisal, what are we assessing, guys? Simply 5 C's. Could you elaborate, David, please? You guys can switch on your mics at any time, right? You don't need my permission for that. You can simply turn on the mic and ask any question or give your opinion or share your idea. What are the 5 C's, David? Could you share for the benefit of others? Others, what do you all think? I agree with David, yeah. David, you may speak, yeah. There's something wrong with the mics, right? I can see the icon blinking, turning on and turning off again. Same thing happened to Suranga also, I think. Surango Uchita. I'll consult Mr. Menak also regarding this. We'll see. That's fine. Any other opinion, guys? What are we looking at? You must have heard of this golden word when it comes to analyzing credit. You got to learn the basic. You got to know the basic. Without the basic, learning is not going to help. The word I'm writing, you may take it down at any given time. You may have papers ready with you, blank papers. You'd have to take notes. I'm not giving notes in words, guys. It would all be like short graphs and there won't be any paragraphs. But these certain essential points, you'd have to note it down. For that, you should have a pen and a paper, maybe a calculator with you. Possibly, if it is possible, you may obtain the printouts of the presentations. The thing we are analyzing from what we learn here, right? From this particular diploma course, from our sessions, what we learn to analyze is the credit worthiness of a customer. Credit worthiness. You guys have heard of this word, right? Guys, come on, wake up. Wake up. I need responses. Credit worthiness consists of 2 main areas. Can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell me? Credit worthiness derives from 2 main areas. What are the 2 areas? Come on. What are the 2 areas? If I write it on the board, you think, okay, this is what it is. Repayment history Repayment history, correct. Correct, Samara. Repayment history. I need it used in different words. Repayment history rather is a tool we use in analyzing what we are going to discuss. Repayment history is a tool we use. It's not what we are looking for. But your answer is correct. Yes. Creditworthiness derives from what Samara said. One area is what? That's the second area. Samara, this is the word I was looking for. What is it? Yeah. Yes, thank you. Somebody gave the other part. Let me look at it. Yes, Samila, you are correct. Yes, capacity. Suranga, you are also correct. Capacity, that's a different term. Ability to pay. I'll write Amila's answer. Write this down, guys. If you don't know it, definitely make sure you have written it down. Ability to pay and willingness to pay. So how can we, what are the, forget about the program, right? Forget about the program. From your normal day-to-day experience, from your practical experience, tell me, what do we do to analyze customers' willingness to pay? No, not willingness to pay. Tell me the stuff we analyze customers' ability to pay. What do we do? How can we assess it? Correct? Yes, Suranga. DSR calculation, correct? Yes, David. Good, good. Two main basic points. Yes, I agree. Willingness to pay? Willingness to pay, character, yes. Yes, agree. And what Samara earlier said, repayment history from the crib report, it is, you can assess both. Yeah, from the crib. Yes, David. From the crib mainly, you can see his payment pattern, right? You can't say just take a crib which is green for the past 24 months. All you can see is a green pitch, right? He has so many facilities, all serviced to the point, right? Can you say with 100% confidence that he has willingness to pay? No, guys, you still can't. You still can't. But we can make a reasonable assumption. When you take a sample, right? The guys who maintain a good crib report generally tend to, you can have a general good idea. You can make a reasonable assumption that if I grant him a facility, he'll continue his repayment patterns or the repayment habits like he has done for the past 2 years. That's a reasonable assumption, not the truth, not the fact. Those are based on historical data. It can change at any given time, right? How many of you saw there was a FB article? Viola using social media now. It's an era, electronic era. We do buying, selling, we do gossiping and social networking, all the things, entertainment, all the, from the tiniest thing to some of the most essential stuff in life, we are linked to internet. So I saw an FB post circulating, going viral last few days, saying your name being on the crib, is no reason for your credit proposal to be rejected. Did you see that article? At least, did you see the topic, the post, FB post? Some of the clients called me and inquired. Yes, yeah, Suranga has seen. Thank you. Some of the customers, when customers inquiring, when they making inquiries about this this situation, whether it is true or not. Yes, Hasil. Yeah. A few customers called me today morning also asking about this. I haven't seen the article, guys, so I don't know the content of it. It can be some gossip article, or somebody has, you know, a politician has all of a sudden thought of something and has said something. I'm not referring to those things. I'm just referring to the title of the article. Your name being on the crib. I'm repeating, your name being on the crib is no reason for your facility or the credit proposal to be rejected. Do you agree or not? Do you agree or not? Shall I repeat the statement? Your name being on the crib is no reason for your credit proposal to be rejected. Agree or disagree, guys? Suranga agrees. David, please clarify the answer. You're agreeing or disagreeing? By the way, if anyone wants to speak, they can speak. Since some of you are more cozy in texting, I'm going with it. If anyone wants to speak, they have the full liberty. Suranga has agreed. Others? Guys, I need answers. Disagree. Uchita. Okay. It's going to be a split decision, it seems. Amila, any response? Buddhika? Agree. David disagree. Buddhika, what about you? Buddhika, Danuka? Vidura agree. Agree. Okay. Danuka disagree. Hasini, it depends. Okay, interesting answer. It depends. One of the most safest answers, right? Faiz, what is your view? Pramudi, Samara, Siddharth, I haven't heard from you. Sisira? Well, your name appearing on the crib is definitely not a reason for your credit proposal to be rejected. I don't know what the author has written in that article, but what I am discussing is, say, whenever you obtain a credit facility, your name goes to the crib. That is inevitable. My name is in the crib. I have so many credit cards. Usage of credit cards is a different art, guys. I have around 12 credit cards, literally 12 credit cards. None of it carries a balance. None of it carries a balance, unless otherwise it is on a interest-free payment plan. Otherwise, if I don't have money, I don't use credit cards, right? It's an interest-free mechanism. You guys are bankers. I don't have to explain it to you, right? But even some of the bankers don't know how to handle the credit card. Even some bankers I have seen, they get aggressive, upset with the credit facility called the credit card, and they cut the card and throw it away. Unnecessary. It's an interest-free credit facility if you use it wisely, and you get so many benefits. The only cost you will be paying is the annual fee. Right? So when you have credit facilities, I presume most of you must be having your staff loan. Some of you must be having facilities from other banks, right? Credit cards, definitely. Most of you must be using credit cards. When you are geared, your name is in the crib. As who said it? As Hasini said, your name being on the crib depends. The impact of your name being on the crib depends on what? Hasini, on what? On your repayment patterns. As simple as that. The simplest answer I can give you is, crib is like a report card, guys. School report card, right? If you have good marks, if you have scored hundreds, 90s, 80s, you are considered as a good student. Your ranks are good. Anybody would want you in their respective class. Some of the schools might be fighting to get you as one of their students, right? But if you have scored continuously 10s, 20s, and maybe even 30s, it is not a good report card. You have not scored very well. Then, fortunately, I'm not justifying our educational system. That is bad. I point blank say that, right? Okay, I'm drifting from my topic, but I should share it with you since you guys are senior, right? I don't consider education as an evaluating mechanism, right? I did all my educational areas. I did HR because I loved HR. I did marketing because I loved marketing. I did management accounts, that is SIMA, because I loved management accounts. No offense to the chartered accountants, it is also an essential area, but the way I am wired, I happen to like management accounts. So you got to do what you like, what you are good at. Our education system doesn't do it. It pushes all the students towards one common path. Be an engineer, doctor, accountant, lawyer, or else a teacher. That same path. That is crowded there. Very crowded. And unfortunately, lot of good talents, which can be of utmost importance for a country like Sri Lanka, right? Left out. Drops. Not appreciated, not identified, not recognized. Our education system is a failure. That's a different story, right? But my point is, on that basis, if you just see the way our teachers, our parents analyze the report card, if you maintain a good crib report, your name appearing on the crib is going to be an advantage for you. If you have maintained, on contrary, if you have maintained a bad repayment record, then your name appearing on the crib is a bad remark or a disadvantage. Okay. Now the thing is, what if somebody doesn't have a crib at all? What is the conclusion we can arrive at? Or what would you feel as a credit officer or a manager? It's strange, most of you are comfortable in typing, right? I feel stranded. Can I get a very simple feedback? Amila, are you there? Can I get a simple yes from you? Buddhika? Danuka? David? Yes. Your mics aren't working, is it? I wanted to hear your voice. Just to break ice. Otherwise, you guys won't be, can't open. Why is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Buddhika, oh,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. Pramodi?
Okay.
Pramodi? Samara? Come on, guys, switch on your mics and speak. Otherwise, it's going to be a boring session. Credit this. Yeah, Uchita. credit needs to be an interactive learning experience. You guys get me right? Credit needs to be an interactive learning experience. Unfortunately, due to this COVID situation going on, the pandemic, can't open, okay, that's fine, Uchit. Right? We are compelled to conduct this session this manner. And of course, IBSL, I know that our organization gets a lot of feedback asking for more and more online courses, online programs. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine, because if the system demands it, if technology has enabled us to do it in a more convenient manner, we have to comply. There's no problem in doing that. The only issue, only concern is, guys, when doing an online lecture, if you guys don't respond, the productivity slightly drops. I don't want that to happen. That is why I always encourage you all to speak. Unfortunately, I can see some people are having, some people are struggling with their mics. So let's get it fixed and move on. But again, I'm reiterating, guys, this is a very kind request to keep the session active and moving and interactive. You guys have to speak. You guys have to participate. You guys have to respond. You guys have to answer. Right? Again, there's no right or wrong answer. Any answer you give is correct. Have that attitude. This is a very practical area. Okay. All right. So where were we? We were discussing about. I lost the track of it. That's fine. Ability to pay and willingness to pay are the crib, right? So crib, we have to follow it on that basis. If you don't have a credit history at all, then it is an issue, because it is like you not having a report card. We don't know whether you are a school student or not. We don't know anything about you. We don't know whether you are good or bad or anything. So not having a crib report at all is also bad. So if you take that particular statement, your name appearing on the crib is not an issue, guys. It appears, it should appear if you are a geared person, right? Okay. That financial literacy, financial knowledge, you got to spread it out, right, to the customers. Sri Lanka is very low in financial literacy. We might see some stuff in the urban areas, but I have worked in many rural areas, not rural, but outside Colombo. When you're outside Colombo, when there are villages, right, people have very low literacy on our financial system. So we are the ambassadors. We have to take it to them. Right. When talking about borrowers, guys, we get lots and lots of different types of borrowers. Okay. We are going to learn about those things. Okay. First thing, we get individuals and people, right? We get normal people and sole proprietorships. Sometimes the person himself comes, he doesn't have a BR. Let I start presenting. You guys can see the slide, right? Okay. individuals, what are the things we have to look when it comes to analyzing an individual? When individual comes or a sole proprietor comes to you asking for a credit facility, what are the things you have to analyze or look in? Basically, the governing law, right? There are certain businesses, most of the time you have to see the governing law, like metal crushers, sometimes garments. When it comes to metal crushers, the governing law and most of the things, the documentation or the approvals you need to obtain, most of those stuff skewed towards environment factors, right? When you are running a garment, a business like a garment, most of the governing law is directed towards labor law. Then identification of the person. You have to identify who he is, who she is, what is his or her background, right? Okay, one more important thing. How many of you do proper, active, know your customer practices? How many of you follow? What is AML? What is KYC? KYC, as we all know, it's know your customer. AML is anti-money laundering. And we have compliance. Compliance, AML, anti-money laundering. What is the link between these three? What is the link? We just blindly do this stuff, no? Right? So when I ask from many of my colleagues or subordinates or even students, they don't know the difference or the link between KYC and AML. Can somebody tell me? KYC is a tool we use to prevent money laundering. KYC is a tool or a mechanism for anti-money laundering and compliance. That's the link. Okay, so you have to know that. You have to analyze the customer, integrity and capacity. Integrity from client's background, maybe educational background, from his past experience, from his maybe family background, right? I have worked at HR, okay? If you don't know, guys, now customers are external customers for us. We are internal customers of HR. You know how strong of an analysis or a search they do on bank employees when they are making recruitments. It's rigorous, guys. Sometimes they go to the extent of hiring private eyes or the private investigators to analyze the background, family background of the people they are hiring. Many people have a personal report secretly done on their profiles, on their personal backgrounds at the point of recruitment. if you are being hired at a certain level, that is maybe at management trainee level and up, right? That kind of a rigorous analysis they do. Why we can't do the same thing about our customers? We have to do it. Capacity. How to assess the capacity, right? Be practical, guys. When you are at Colombo, analyzing the capacity is easy. Most people, they prepare statements, income statements. They are aware of it. When you are dealing with corporates and public limited companies and even private limited companies, they have to, it is mandatory for them to prepare accounts. Not when it comes to rural proprietors, individuals. They do a daily run sometimes. Yes, they develop, but still they don't change their practices, right? They don't change it. So we have to construct, we call that constructed accounts, right? Even constructed accounts, you cannot do it from the data provided by the customer, guys. You can't do it, right? To analyze the capacity, you have to visit that place. You have to look at his neighborhood, look at his market, the bill book, this and that, everything, right? Infant and married women subject to Tesawalami law, right? Not only Tesawalami law, right? Individuals and personnel, when we are granting credit facilities, we have to look at the law. There are so many laws in Sri Lanka. We have the Roman Dutch law that is being considered as our main law. Then we have the Kandyan law. We have the Islamic law. Then we have the Tesawalami law, right? If I have time, I'll take you through those laws, essential factors of those three niche laws in comparison to our main legal framework, that is the Roman Dutch law, right? When it comes to partnerships, then you of course have to look at the registration, then identification, and partnership agreement. Guys, what is the main problem in having a partnership? Come on, I need answers. What is the main issue in running or having a partnership? Matters in partnership agreement. Okay, agreed. If you we'll talk about the partnership agreement and the importance of it. If you keep it aside for the time being, what is the other most important issue in running a partnership? Conflict of interest, profit sharing. Keep all that aside. Personal habits, commitment levels. True. All these answers are correct. Yes, Samila, I completely agree. Trust. Okay. All you guys are correct, guys, but everything apart from stuff like trust and personal habits and commitment levels, stuff like apart from stuff like that, right? Things like profit sharing, conflict of interest, those can be solved and discussed in the agreement itself. But there is a certain thing which is beyond our control. Important one. Can you think of it? Big issue, impact is severe. Come on, try, guys. What? No idea. In a partnership, right? Let me put it this way, then answer. There are 3 people in a partnership. Somebody not dying. I'm not referring to dying. Dying can happen even in sole proprietorships. Some partner wants to leave. Credibility. Okay, that also can be taken into account. That's a different aspect. My point is, if a partner wants to leave, can it be entertained? If a partner wants to leave, can it be entertained? No, guys. In a partnership, you cannot do that. I mean, technically you can. You can do all the account related stuff you can do. But technically what happens is you close down the operation, you close down the business and do all these accounting transactions and balance it out and get the new partner in and start the business from the scratch. It's a new business. So the main problem is business continuity. It is not there. Even without dying, if a partner wants to leave, then we have to entertain that. So the business will be no more. The next business we are starting is going to be a new business, not the previous one. Right? So you have to look at it. It's a critical thing. If you have granted, a credit facility to a partnership, if partners change, that partnership is no more. There's no legal validity to that partnership. But because of the nature of it, unlike a private limited company or a public company, when it comes to sole proprietorships and partnerships, the promoter or the particular business person, they are bound by their personal assets as well. Their responsibility extends to their personal assets as well. That is how it goes in both sole proprietorships and partnerships. owner's responsibility extends to his personal assets as well. In other words, if he defaults, even if his property is not lodged, or his property is not enough for us to cover the total sum of the loan granted, then we can go that extra mile of requesting his other personal properties as well. Or we can still keep demanding him to pay the entire amount. It extends to his personal assets, unless otherwise he declares bankruptcy. But in case he declares bankruptcy, then he can't possess anything. He can only jump a kind of a suit technically. It's a fascinating thing if you study it, right? Declaring bankruptcy. If a person is bankrupt, he even can't wear slippers, right? Somebody can demand him to take it off. So declaring bankruptcy is no joke, right? You don't have any social status after that. Otherwise, every nook and corner will be seeing people declaring bankruptcy. That's one of the biggest issues in partnerships. Then comes the partnership agreement, as most of you said, right? What is the importance of partnership agreement, guys? What if a partnership agreement is not there? Then what happens? Then role conflict. Yes, it definitely arises, but there's a small provision for that, right? If a partnership agreement is not there, then the partnership should go by the policy guidelines declared in the Partnership Act. Remember that. It has certain things. If my memory is correct, you can browse it and see. This is from my memory, which goes back to 2005 when I did my A-levels, right? If it is not specifically stated in the partnership agreement, no matter how much equity you have put, profit needs to be shared equally among all partners. Say I must have put 80 rupees, the other partner must have put 10 rupees, and the next one also has put 10 rupees. Altogether, the capital is 100. But when it comes to the profit, unless otherwise it is specifically stated, profit needs to be shared equally among all partners. So it is an essential thing for you to have a partnership agreement, especially when you are the main promoter in handling stuff, right? Remember that if an agreement is not there, you just can't when it comes to debt also, you can't say, you can't go with what partners say. Even if let's imagine a situation, partnership with 3 partners, right? All three come to you and ask for a credit facility, and they say, okay, this guy is going to have signing powers, this guy will not have signing powers, and whatnot, right? uh, Still you cannot go by their word. You have to, you are bound by, they are bound by the Partnership Act. Okay. Okay. That's about partnerships. Then joint ventures. Joint ventures also a unique proposition, guys. I don't know whether you have clients who are doing businesses as joint ventures. What is the difference? What is a joint venture, guys? Can anybody explain? Joint venture is where generally one person is having the technical expertise, and he is not going to a bank, because normally in Sri Lanka banks don't finance, banks rarely finance startups. So to cover the to cover that vacuum, there's a proposition called the joint ventures. They take a higher risk. They put the capital. It does not go as a loan, right? They don't have to pay them interest, but still it is going to be on a profit sharing basis. So it is more expensive than obtaining credit, but you have a certain cushion. If you don't make profits, you don't have to pay dividend or share profits. If there is a loss, it goes with the joint venture agreement, but still relatively less riskier than obtaining a loan, but value wise, expense wise, it is costly, because you don't pay a 10% or 15% interest. You split the profit 50-50, right? That's a joint venture. So you have to see the purpose. If you are going to finance a joint venture, you got to see the purpose of it. Then comes another unique category: trusts and societies. It is governed by a board of trustees. There is a constitution. It is mostly non-profit oriented. So you have to have all these things in your mind if you are to grant a credit facility to these kind of organizations. Then comes limited liability companies. Limited liability companies, it's a different ball game, guys. Whether they like it or not, it is mandatory for them to prepare accounts, right? They are governed by the Companies Act, and they should be having memorandums of articles, extracts. Then you get Form 1, Form 20, Form 7, Form 13, right? So many essential forms which contains the details of the business, registration numbers, changes of directors, information of directors, incorporation certificate. Likewise, the list goes on. Then certificate of incorporation is another one. The main difference between all the other areas we already discussed and the limited liability company is what? Let me ask again. What is the main difference between all the other areas we just now discussed and limited liability companies? Easy question, guys. Answer. Amile, I still haven't heard. Amile, yeah. Amile replied. Dhanuka. Okay. Sisira, what's the difference? Simple question, guys. Owners are not liable for company debt. Partially correct, Samara. Issues shares, again correct, but when it comes to the bank, from bank side, what is the most important? Responsibility ends up with company property. Company property. Beneficial owner. Okay. You guys are almost there. Let me slightly rephrase. Right? Two people came very close. Right? Responsibility ends up with company property. Then the other ones that response was given by Hasini. Then Samara said donors are not liable for company debt. They are liable. And Hasini, it doesn't end with company's property, but their responsibility or the obligation is limited to the value of the shares they hold. Right? It is limited to the value of the shares they hold of that particular company. Right? That's the main difference. That's the main difference. But yes, they raise their capital equity by issuing shares. But limited liability companies again, divides into two main categories. Limited PLCs, those are public limiteds, then private limiteds. Private limiteds cannot issue shares on public basis, right? They can't collect money by just issuing shares. They can sell shares only within their family or friends, right? They can make a public declaration. That's the difference. Then comes statutory bodies. Parliament acts, ministers consent to borrow, resolution, list of directors. These kind of things normally don't come to private banks, guys. But banks like, of course, NSB and BOC, they can get these kind of requests from the government itself or statutory bodies governed by the government. If they are asking for some sum, there needs to be a parliament act and minister should consent it, the relevant minister. Then there needs to be a proper resolution drafted, maybe in accordance with the bank's guidelines, right? Then you got to have a list of directors definitely, and you got to do a background search. Then by large, the government. They can easily borrow money. Their default risk is zero. It's zero, right? Request from secretary to treasury. Those things work like that. Okay. Then comes customer relationship management. Okay. What is customer relationship management? Customer relationship management is a term that refers to practices, strategies, and technologies that companies use to manage and analyze customer interactions and data throughout the customer life cycle with the goal of improving business relationships with customers, assisting in customer retention and driving sales growth. So many links. But you got to divide it and analyze. Basically, it is a set of practices and strategies and technologies, right, to analyze and interact with customers. If you want, you can write it down, guys. Practices, strategies, and technologies to analyze and interact with customer data throughout the customer life cycle. with the intention of improving customer satisfaction and customer retention in achieving organizational objectives. That sounds a little simple, right? Rather than by hearting this. So get the idea, guys. Customer relationship management. When you talk about customer relationship management, many people think it is related to software. It is related to hardware. It is related to you having so many systems, you having computers, this and that. No, it is a simple process, but it's a cumulative set of practices, strategies, and technologies, right? Underline the key words I just repeated. Practices, strategies, and technologies. I'm saying again, underline this stuff. Analyze customer interactions. Throughout customer life cycle. Improving business relationships. Customer retention. Driving sales growth. Driving sales growth. Principles of CRM. Principles of CRM. Continuously learn about your customers. I mean, when the customer comes, you can't simply analyze and interview the customer and let him go and have a continuous relationship with him and keep lending. No. Continuously learning about your customers means that you are having a thorough relationship with all these customers on a continuous basis. Only then you would be able to figure out the early warning signals, if there's any. The early warning signals are the signals that we get when a particular client is about to go bad, right? You must have heard and had, you must have had so many programs on the early warning signals, credit management. The early warning signals you can identify only when you make continuous relationships with the customers and continuously try to learn about it. Then interact personally with your customers. That is why many banks have relationship managers and assistant relationship managers. They are not credit officers. They manage the relationship itself. So if you are being given a portfolio, you have to closely monitor it and have personal interaction with each and every one in your respective portfolios. If you are the manager, the job gets even more complicated. Now you don't have a single portfolio, you have the branch portfolio. So you don't go and do those micro level stuff which the credit officer does. But you got to have an overall idea about almost all the customers in your bank, in the branch. If it is not a practical thing, what you can do is you got to have, depending on the number of customers you are having in your bank, maybe 200 or 300 customers descending wise. Then focus on the main customers. But it's better if you can have an overall interaction, at least a simple hi, simple personal note, greeting with each and everyone in your branch portfolio, even if you are the manager. Handle different customers differently. That is an art, guys. How to handle different customers differently? Now the branch people know more than the people at head office. They know most of the time the credit portfolio, it's like a rainbow. You get people so many backgrounds, so many capacities, so many levels, right? Some people come and they just come to the bank because they like the credit officer. Some elderly people come because they like to have a small chit chat. Now they are not recognized in the society, but even if they have a small deposit of 200 or 300,000, they would like to visit the bank sometimes, and they would have to have a small chit chat. Maybe not about business, maybe about the weather, the economic condition, political condition, right? And there is another type of a customer who comes to the bank urgently. He doesn't want chit chat. What he wants is his job to be completed as soon as possible so that he can get back to his business and start earning money, right? Some people come to the bank to have the recognition, the prestige, egoistic clients, right? They need to be offered tea or coffee or something. They need to be acknowledged, definitely, right? You don't have to go out of your way and put the other clients, down and treat some people differently. It's a marketing gimmick. That is why I say it is an art. Handling people, customer relationship management is an art. Sometimes managers high, a simple high would cater to the ego of the client. Or manager inviting him inside the cubicle and having a 2-minute chat. Right? Some people, some customers, they always want advice, guys. Advice. I'm sure you must have come through customers like that. Those type of customers, they don't want bankers or rather relationship managers, credit officers who says yes to each and everything he says. Sometimes as a credit officer, you got to have that gut to say no in a polite manner, but a firm no. No, sir. I'm not referring to you deciding on the credit facility, not that. Many banks do that. Right? When a small customer or a large customer come, they say, no, we are not in a position to grant this credit. Anybody can say that. But what we have to look at is the way we treat the customer. How to win customers' heart. How to create that loyalty. Right? How to stand out from our competition. How to do that? Sometimes in my career also I have done that. I have explained them. They come up with this dreamy proposal, right? So you sometimes think, okay, I have to give this. This guy is so into it. If I don't grant it, if I don't give the facility, if I don't talk positively, this guy, this customer is going to leave us. It won't happen. If you give them the reasons, if you talk with them, the more you talk, the better they would feel. They would thank you, saying you have rescued them from a potential risky situation. You have saved their money. They would thank you. It has happened to me a lot of times. So saying no is a way of winning customers' loyalty. It's a strange thing, guys. Okay. Then retain the right customers. වාතනන් තියාගන්න එපා portfolio වල. It wastes your time and energy and there's no addition to the profit. Let them go. If you don't feel, guys, that that you are benefiting from a certain customer. The branch is benefiting from a certain customer. There's no point keeping that customer unless otherwise you are having future plans for that customer to increase the customer profitability. So you have to select the right customer always. Then anticipate customer needs and offer to fulfill them. Thinking one step forward. Now most of the customers nowadays, they don't only bank with you. They'll be having 2-3 banks, right? So the very moment they realize some bank is faster than the other banks, he's going to pick that particular bank as the main bank. You can't stop that. Okay. So if we are to be that flexible, that dynamic, you have to have that mechanism. You have to have that mechanism. What is the mechanism? You have to anticipate customer needs and offer to fulfill them. Let's take an example, guys. Some person is trying to start up an agency. He's going to sell, no, not an agency. Let's say he's going to import mobile phones and distribute mobile phones and all the mobile accessories. What will he be needing most probably? What? For a person who is planning to sell mobile devices, mobile equipment, he's going to start it right now. He was in some kind of another business, say hardware. He was running one of the best hardwares in the town. But now he's venturing into the area of mobile accessories whilst running the hardware. What is the facility you can foresee? Yes. What? Amila? Danuka? David? Harshana? If somebody is going to start a fresh business of distributing mobile devices and accessories, most probably, what is the facility he would require? Hasini, Ibran, IVSL? Indika? Hamudi? No one? Now I'm going to ask Menaka to respond. Uchita, Vidura, Samara, what do you think? What kind of facility is required? SME loan? Okay. Cash for working capital? Yes. Now just imagine, guys, if he is going to do we make mobile phones and accessories that much in Sri Lanka? Yes, 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 Samila. Possibly. LC facility. LC is one of the facilities he'll be requiring, right? We call it an import line. Acceptance facility, LC, then maybe a working capital loan coupled by an OD. If you can identify, if you just, when you're having a chit chat with him, right, you analyze, you happen to find out his intended capacity, then you can propose him without him asking from you. You yourself can propose, okay, this is what is going to happen, right? You would need this. You can save money by doing this. You need this many days of acceptance facility. You need this many days of an LC facility. After that, you have to have a period to sell your products. So you won't be able to settle the LC facility right after. So you'll be needing another maybe revolving loan till you roll over your working capital, the stock, right? All these things are there. I remember a classic example, guys. One guy. I'll give you some fictitious figures, hypothetical figures, but it would be sufficient for you to get the idea. One person was running an agency, let's call it the Melbourne agency, right? He was required to now as a security, he was purchasing around say 20 million worth products from Melbourne organization on a monthly basis. So when that guy is purchasing around 20-30 million, you need a certain guarantee, no? You need a certain assurance. So Melbourne has asked him to keep at least 15 million as a security at Melbourne. Now this guy's previous bank has given him a loan. He has withdrawn the loan and keeps repaying the loan. And from that loan amount, he has requested a 15 million loan, and that loan amount, the chunk is with Melbourne as a security, as an assurance, right? My question is that the optimum solution? Is that the optimum solution bank could give the customer? If it is not, what is the optimum solution and why? Correct. Yes. The most appropriate banking product for this kind of a thing is the bank guarantee of 15 million. Why not a loan? Why should we propose a guarantee? Because from the loan also his need has been fulfilled. Then why should we go and propose him a guarantee? Now let's say the loan has been granted by a different bank. I want to canvas this client. I go and meet him and I propose him a guarantee. Why should I do that? What is the advantage now? If I am to get the client, I should add some value. No? What is the added value I can provide the client by my proposal. Cost would be lower than a loan. Why? How? You are correct. I'm asking how. No one? Come on, bankers. Why? Yes, of course, the cost is low. Why? When you obtain a loan, you pay the interest for the entire period and you get the cash. Only commission, correct. Spot on. Yes, Sujit. So, my explanation is when a client comes, forget he will be repeating and he will be reiterating on his request. Forget his request. That is my advice. Forget his request. Look at his proposal. He thinks his request is the optimum solution, which might not be the case. Almost 50% of the time, his client's proposal is not the optimum solution. You look at his intended project, the proposal, right? Then you analyze it. Then see what the customer wants, not what customer asks. See what customer requires. Do you understand my point? Customer will be asking for something different. It is like a patient going to a doctor and asking for amoxicillin, or patient going to a doctor and asking for a brain surgery, where the issue is migraine, where the issue is stress. Customer thinks the issue is somewhere else, but you got to have, customer thinks the solution is something else, but you got to have that maturity and the talent and the convincing power to decide which is better. Do you understand my point? So in this particular case I told you about, this particular case, what happens is, if you obtain a loan, guys, you keep paying commission throughout the entire period, not the commission interest, but if you obtain a bank guarantee, it is just going to be commission that is also once a year. Also will be for a sum of 2.75 or 3%. But will the Melbourne organization be happy? Yes. Yes, because it is a guarantee from a bank. It is almost, the risk is 0.01%. 0.01%. If you have a guarantee from a bank, even if their customer, that agent defaults, or even if he or she does not default, still the bank can demand the guarantee, to honor the guarantee from the bank, right? Okay, so you got to have that wisdom, have that capability, capacity to advise customers and guide customers. Increase value for your customers and of your customers. Value for your customers and of your customers. How to do that? increasing value for your customers. If you increase the value for your customer, value of your customer will automatically be increased. Why? When you are increasing, when you are giving more value, more and more people will come, and the same people, same person also will buy more and more from you. You get what I say, right? Just imagine all the people sell this water bottle, right? All other players sell this water bottle. I sell this water bottle in which I do some kind of a, let's say this bottle is made out of some kind of a environmental friendly plastic or material, and it contains some seeds. You can plant the bottle itself. Will it be adding value? Yes. Yes. Will I be increasing the value for my customer? Yes. Then what would happen? If I do that, compared to the sale of this particular bottle, these type of bottles, so my bottles will be selling more and more. When I create a value for the customer, value of the customer automatically increases. That is how it happens. Okay. Present a single face to your customers to make their experience with your organization seamless. Important, guys. Very, very important. Present a single face to your customers to make their experience with your organization seamless. That is one thing we don't do often. Often in Sri Lankan banks, that is something we don't do. Every time I read this, I remember a cartoon I have watched. How many of you have watched Surapappa? You must have watched Surapappa, right? Even with your kids, so you by yourself. There's an episode where the Surapappas are being asked to obtain a particular, a slip, permission slip. It is called the Anka Visaya Avasara Patre. And these guys go up and down, and from the way they react, from the way these two guys have been rerouted and redirected up and down the entire building, it seems a near impossible task. Right? So that is not presenting a single face to your customers. Presenting a single face means, guys, if you are handling your portfolio, right, then you need to be that one person your customers come to for any of their banking needs. Be it seeking advice or opening an account, putting a deposit, obtaining an OD access, opening a current account, obtaining a personal loan, housing loan, owning anything. When the customer comes, you can't be directing him, say, you need to have to report to that person, sir, go and meet that miss and this, sir. It won't work. Especially with the increasing competition, it is never going to work. But over and over, I have observed, I have seen this happening, unfortunately. So, as senior credit officers, as managers, you have to keep your subordinates and staff and team informed of this. If you see that, that is a very bad practice. Customer needs to be given a seamless experience in providing service, in obtaining the banking service from us. So for that, each and every person in the bank, the teller, the lower counter person, even the security officer, right? We all discuss it now in many forums. Security officer is the first touch point. If that touch point is not a pleasant one, if he does not know, of course, the security officer job role is different. They can't be knowing everything about the bank, right? But if he doesn't know head or tail about what is going inside the bank, sometimes they don't know who the manager is, who the credit officer is, then that's a problem. Every person inside the branch should work as a unit of a total mechanism. That is called presenting single face to your customer. Focus on revenue and retention more than reducing costs. More than reducing costs. Customer relationship management. Sometimes I have seen managers being so stingy. They don't even send a fruit basket or anything. You know, material stuff is material. Agreed. But it's the gesture, it's what you do, it's the way we put it, which remains in customers' hearts. Customers' hearts. Right? So you got to be tactful in doing that. There's no point you switching off all the lights and keeping the place very gloomy and dark. You might be saving 2,000, 3,000 rupees from your monthly current bill, but you are ruining customer experience. You are ruining the ambience inside the branch. So to manage customer relationship, you have to forget. Of course, you have to have some kind of an idea about the cost, but don't be over enthusiastic and emphasize on reducing cost. Rather, you focus more on revenue, increasing the revenue and retaining the customer. That is more important, right? Okay, guys. Now it's 3:30. It's 3:30. We'll meet sharp at 4 o'clock. You take a 30-minute break, and when I return, I still will be needing more and more responses from you guys, because higher the number of responses I guess, better it is for both you and me, because then I can have an idea whether you are getting it or not. Having an online session is another difficult area, because you don't see the facial expressions. So then the lecturer don't know whether the participant understood the fact or not. So better if you can communicate frequently with me. So let's break for some tea and get back here by 4 o'clock sharp. Thank you, guys. Welcome back, guys. Before we restart, I want to ask, there are 8 people here. Please tell me, I need your feedback. Is there anything to be changed when it comes to our sessions? The speed and the explanation. Do I have to increase my speed? Am I like emphasizing too much on stuff you already know? Or should I continue the same way? Or should I slow it down even further? What do you feel? guys who are here now, Amila, David, Faiz, Indika, Pamudi, Samara, Uchita. I need your feedback, guys. The way, okay. Okay, thank you, Amila. What about others? Okay, thank you, Indika. Thanks. Okay. Seems at any given time, if you guys feel that I should slow it down and explain it a little more, or you need further clarification on one side, and thank you. Yeah, Samara, thanks. Okay, good. That is just for the time being, but at any given time, if you feel I should move forward on an enhanced speed, or I should slow it down, just let me know. Right? Just a matter of simply switching on your mic and telling me or dropping me a text. All right. So we were at focus on revenue and retention more than on reducing cost. Guys, actually, it takes, I think if my memory is correct, 4 or 5 times the cost of retaining an existing customer compared to recruiting or acquiring a new customer. So the beneficial method is more profitable method is retaining the existing customers, right? Because to acquire a new customer, it always incurs or takes a higher cost. Enable information sharing and interaction across organizations. What does it say? Now the problem is, if you dig down, deep down, you'd feel that you always, if you are in branch banking, you always, hate the department people. More often than not, it is the same situation. Why? The level of service you give to your external customers, that is our clientele, our market share, that service, that passion is not to be seen in departments. That is what the branch banking people believe and see. On the other hand, department people also think, okay, these guys have all the fun, they can come and have fun and have meetups, and they have customers. Our job is like very monotonous, it's a desk job, it is boring, and our job enrichment and enhancement is very low. Likewise, the main problem is that these department guys and the branch guys, there's no proper linkage between those two different pillars. But when the worst part is, when it comes to the departments also, between those departments there is rivalry, right? So accounts guys hate marketing, they always ask for money. We need this, we need that. IT people always, I remember one of our senior management personnel saying, investing on IT is like dumping your money inside an endless pit. You dump, it is true, because you change the CPU, and once you go through that entire cycle of converting 140 odd branches within the branch network, then once you complete it in 2 or 3 years, then something else go obsolete. Either the software or either the monitor, CPU, something comes up always, because it's an ever evolving industry, IT. These guys want money, IT guys also want money. They are concerned about the cost and being a cost hub, increasing cost. They are talking about cost cutting. There's rivalry. And almost the other departments and the branch banking, everyone hates HR sometimes, despite their effort. So that's kind of a problem. That is because the information flow is not there. Strategies are being set up at the topmost level, and when it is being passed down the organizational hierarchy, certain pillars get their respective view only. That's so-called the commonly used term helicopter view. The holistic point of view is not to be seen. People don't practice it. Maybe because of that, it is really difficult to handle the customer. Let's say he goes now, how many of us have had really bad experiences in lodging a complaint or making an inquiry with one of those call center personnel? Sometimes it is disastrous. 90% of the call center personnel, they are very robotic, mechanical. They don't have that human touch. They just follow a script. Even without solving or providing a solution to any of our problems, which we burningly have, they sometimes have the gut to ask the question, can I help you with any other thing? The word comes to your mouth is, you first try to attain what I want, then I can see whether I have any other problem, right? So those kind of informations, now if a customer lodges a complaint, that flow needs to be there. It needs to be passed on from one person to another person to the third person, up until the problem is solved and the customer is duly informed. Customer cannot be repeating the same issue with this person and that person after some time with another third party. It is irritating. Plus, for the organization to have what we discussed earlier, the teamwork, people working towards the common objective, people to have that common drive towards achieving organizational objectives whilst providing customer relationship, then information is a key feature. Without information, you can't do anything. If branch people don't know whether to push the asset products or the liability products, you may go to one of your prime customers and harp on your FD rates and this and that so much. The next day, the rate drops, so banks declare, okay, we have enough liquidity, we don't need any more deposits. Disastrous. I mean, how can you face that customer again, right? Plus, when you are in a position now, as branch banking people, you all must be having experience of, facing the competition, going through all these phases, trying to acquire the branded clients, most sought after clients in your respective localities. Problem is that you don't know your bargaining power. You don't know what you can offer, because definitely the sheet rate or your normal framework won't be enough to acquire that prime client. So you go with your regional manager, you go with your branch banking head, you might go with your head of some lending unit, but you still can't offer the client, promise the client a certain thing. That is an issue. Bank needs to have that flow of information. Even the lowest layer should have an idea what we can and can't do. Of course, even if the client is highly profitable and highly risk free, depending on the bank's policy strengths and weaknesses, we might not be able to provide a competitive rate. That's understood, guys. As matured bankers, we should accept that fact. Different banks have different strengths and weaknesses. But still, you got to know that beforehand. Upfront, you should know your weakness and strength. You can't be facing the battle without knowing it. If you go there thinking that you have a machine gun and ultimately what you have is a gull cutters, then you are at risk. But if you go there knowing that you are having a gull cutters, then you are prepared. Right? So that is the importance of having a proper information flow and sharing. Create business rules to drive all customer relationship management decisions and automation. In banks, another problem is the red tape. Rules and regulations needs to be there to govern the bank, to safeguard people's money and to minimize risk, to cover all the loopholes and to streamline the process, smoothen the process and let the things run. But with the rules, with more and more rules, if there are unnecessary rules, non-value adding rules, if rules are there to block you from offering customers a proper service, then it is a big problem. Then you have to understand those rules, identify those rules and remove them or amend it accordingly. Rules cannot provide, it cannot be a barrier for you to provide proper customer service within the ethics and the framework of your bank. If it prevents, then it is not a proper rule. I'm not saying you going out of hand and offering a C grade customer a AAA grade rate and 150 million facility with a credit line. No, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the intention, right? So those the rules and regulations and also the automation. Automation now some banks decentralize. Some banks when they are growing, some banks centralize processes. When growing, some banks decentralize processes. Both methods are acceptable. That's fine. And certain automation is there. Once you enter, all the customer details appear. Those are good. But it again cannot prevent us from presenting a true and fair view. Say the exposure comes up or automatically. You very well know now you have to submit a paper today itself. You very well know very next day he is going to settle an exposure of 100 million. Then the profitability and the asset level is going to release some securities. The entire picture changes. Then the system, or there should be a manual way, or the system should allow you to do it, some adjustment to reflect while the present situation is there. It should be able to give that true and fair picture by some manual adjustments. Otherwise, it's a system failure. Something to be adjusted in the system loophole. Right? Automation is there. Automation needs to be there as long as it is enabling all the bank people, bank employees in providing good customer service while safeguarding the interest of all the stakeholder parties 360 degrees. Right? Not only the management, not only us, not only the shareholders, not only the deposit holders, all the stakeholder parties. Because I'm saying this again, remember the first remark we made, difference between medicine and poison is the dosage. right? If you know, if you have gone through some risk programs, if you have sufficient knowledge on risk, you might know there is a risk called the systematic risk and systemic risk. Let me write it. Write this down, guys. This is one. Other one is who knows the difference between these two? Difference. What is systematic risk? What is systemic risk? Yes. Come on, guys. No one? Systematic risk is the risk we experience or we happen to have from normal day-to-day activities like the exchange rate and all these things, the operational functions, this and that, all the things. Systemic risk is, it is very rare in industries. If one particular industry, one particular incident in the industry, without any apparent reason, without any involvement, can affect the entire industry. This is very particular, very prominent in banking industry. Systemic risk. Systemic risk. If a rumor goes that there is a liquidity issue in ABC Bank, if a rumor goes, what happens? Customer comes to you. ABC Bank has one of your customers are there. Imagine this situation. One of your intended potential customers are there who is having a deposit of say 150 million rupees, right? Now that 150 million is at ABC Bank, right? This customer, now if there is a rumor going on saying ABC Bank is under liquidity risk, they are facing, they don't have money. Now this customer is planning to withdraw money from ABC Bank. He comes to you. What would you say? What would you say? Will you be taunting that client to move out from the bank and withdraw the money? You know that bank is collapsing. You better have your money with us. Otherwise, your money is at risk. Will you be trying to convince the customer like that? I don't think so. As experienced bankers, I don't think you would do something like that. not only because of the moral and ethical practices, the moral framework you have as a person, but also you are aware of, without knowingly or unknowingly, you are aware of systemic risk. If customers now, when the rumor goes there is a liquidity risk, almost all the customers suddenly wants to withdraw the funds from your bank. When almost all the customers make that request, none of the banks would be in a position to, no matter how strong you are, none of the banks would not be in a position to comply with those requests. Because we have, whether we like it or not, we should accept the fact that we don't have their money with us right now. We have lent it. Otherwise, we can't make any profits now. We can't make any money now. So, if a situation like that arises, the bank would collapse, bank would bankrupt. There will be a severe liquidity crisis. If that happens to that bank, then we are next. It is like a pack of cards, guys. If one collapses, the entire thing would collapse to the ground within a matter of weeks. It would create an utter chaos within the economic industry, economic situation of the country. Everything will be an utter chaos. So we should not encourage. That is systemic risk. One incident of one organization impacting the entire industry. Systemic risk. We are heavily, as bankers, we are heavily exposed to systemic risk. So as a result, we should have those kind of practices within the industry, within the bank. I was talking about automation. Automation should not prevent. I took you on a different path. Automation and rules should not be barriers, but it needs to be, those needs to be tools in enhancing customer relationship management rather than being roadblocks along the way. Empower agents with information and training. Empower agents with information and training. Information part, of course, guys, it relates to the one we discussed a little earlier. Enable information sharing and interaction across the organization. When it comes to the agents can be the BDS, us, all the employees are ambassadors of the brand name of the bank, especially the sales staff. They should have proper information. They can't be going to customers and keeping relationship with customers without knowing the banking products. Then the most difficult job would be the credit relationship manager's job. I'm sure you must have come across situations like that. They promise the sun and moon and the stars and bring the customer. Then the customer's expectations are sky high. You can't meet. Then forget about delighting the customer. You can't even meet the customer perception or the requirement. Expectation, sorry. Our entire objective is to exceed customer expectation. So if you set the bar so high, how can you exceed that? You, of course, would end up somewhere below. You have to be very mindful. Even to secure the business, if you bluff or give faulty data, information, then ultimately you are losing the customer relationship in the long run. So even now, at that very moment, even as a customer relationship executive, a client in your credit portfolio, you have to break a bad news to him. Whether the loan is, it might be your loan got rejected. We are not in a position to cater to your request. You might, forcing a bad impression on that customer on the short run. But that is like removing a plaster. People like, customers like when banks tell them the truth. Then they feel that that particular organization is reliable, because businesses, it cannot have volatilities, uncertainties. They have enough and more uncertainties in the industry itself. So we have to provide them with certain certainty. Not saying, again, I'm not saying you have to always grant the loan. But if you can't grant the loan, you have to tell the client without wasting much time. Then he can adjust his plans accordingly. Right? Information and of course training. Sales, advertising and marketing. Those three concepts have evolved immensely. Advertising is not just taking up the message to the customer. No. It's creating a life experience. It's enabling the marketing process. So those people got to have that talent. They can't just go there and parrot it out and bring some random customers in. They also should have the basic skill to assess and manage the customer. Then only the CRM model would work effectively. It's a way of doing business, not an IT project. That is the first thing I told you about. That is what we are forgetting. Companies go and invest millions and billions of rupees in all these systems without realizing the essence of CRM, customer relationship management. Because IT, just because IT is a fast moving industry and we involve IT in most of the things we do in the present world, it doesn't necessarily mean that CRM is an IT project. No. IT is a tool we use to smoothen or make things easier in customer relationship management. Maybe to track data, maybe to, the information, have information flows and to conduct trainings, identify customers, algorithms, spending patterns, anything. But the basic part, underlying part, has to be understood and carried out by the people. Even without the involvement, it would definitely be slower, but even without the involvement of a single IT unit or equipment, CRM can be practiced. No two words. Definitely can be practiced. So it's not an IT project, right? When you are, if in the exam, if you are being asked to describe CRM, don't even think of describing it as an IT mechanism which integrates all these things together. No, it's not. We just use IT to make things easier and smoothen the process. Okay, guys? Benefits of CRM. Improved customer experience. Improved customer experience. How can we improve customer experience from CRM? By doing all that, customer experience automatically increases. When a customer comes to the bank with lot of needs, if somebody comes to him and greets him and caters to all the needs, will he be satisfied or not? He'll be delighted, over the moon. When the information flow is there, all the systems are smoothly functioning, automations are there, it is not regulations are not blocking the way, it is just enabling you, it is just showing you the way, guiding you. If those things are there, you will be simply identifying the client. If he is creditworthy, you will be pushing the project through. It will be approved in a matter of days, and the legal process is fully automated, and there are people, there are no bottlenecks. Smoothly everything is done, and you will be able to provide a project loan in 5 working days. Imagine the situation. Imagine how satisfied the customer would be, right? That is how improved customer experience is harnessed. Focus marketing efforts. Yeah, because if the customer relationship management mechanism is there, then without beating around the bush, without firing so many rounds, you know what to sell and to whom you should sell it. Your marketing effort is totally focused. So if an unforced marketing effort yields you two businesses from 100 attempts, a focus marketing effort would definitely yield around 50 businesses from 100 attempts. It's a benefit. Automated analytics and reporting. It saves time. No? If the system is properly there, it saves time. Just imagine, I don't know, I'm talking with my experience at different banks. How many time wasted on entering project officers and project executives, credit executives, credit assistants, and the entire credit team. How much time they waste on entering clerical simple stuff on papers. Sometimes it is repeated over and over, and they waste time just fill in the blanks. Yes or no? Yes. I have seen it in many banks. Unnecessary data. Sometimes even if the data is necessary, it can be simply extracted from a single press of a button. The problem is that the system doesn't enable it. It can be simply arranged. So if a proper system is there, then you are good to go. Those time wastages, repetitions, clerical stuff, the analytical part will be limited only to the analysis where the human involvement is required. Why the human involvement is required in analyzing, I'll tell you later. Because it differs from one scenario to another. Vastly different, right? Current quick ratio acid test going up won't give you the same picture when it is business A compared to business B. No, it can be due to two different reasons. It might be giving two different indications. So for that analysis part, human involvement is necessary. Not to the report information extracting part, right? If CRM is there, your time and efforts and money, all three will be saved. Better coordination and cooperation. As we discussed earlier, CRM is not only an IT thing, it's a flow of information, all people working together. So if that mechanism is properly there, then better coordination and cooperation automatically develops within the organization, right? Increase profitability. If all the things we discussed earlier here and in the previous slide, Just imagine a situation, all those things, all those wheels moving towards the right direction without any trouble, without stopping. What's the end result? Bottom line increasing. Why? With each and every step we discussed, either the cost goes down or the profit goes up from all the actions. Think individually, think of each and every action. Final result would be either the cost going down or the profit increasing. Those are the benefits of CRM. Guys, I'm telling again, don't try to buy hard this stuff. Katapadang karanne yanna epa. You don't have to, I promise you. My question, and I sincerely hope, I'm 100% sure that when it comes to other lecturers also, it is the same situation. We don't want parrots. We don't need our exact words written on the paper as it is. If it is there, if your memory is that good, and if you understand the point in these particular words, it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if somebody has, let's say, take an example, take the fifth point I have written, increase profitability. If you have, if you write as a benefit, profitability increasing or the bottom line having a positive trend, we know that you have got the idea. So you'll be given full marks. Just get the idea. There's no need to buy hard stuff. Okay? Right. Let's move on. Understanding client's business. Understanding client's business is an important thing in assessing credit. We all do stuff to assess, to give good credit, no? To give good credit. Our, you know, when it comes to sales staff and some of the credit officers, there was a manager here, right? There were several managers here. People who are our team members in our group who are managers can answer this. How many of your team members and maybe sales staff and credit officers, how many of them are highly rate conscious? In canvassing clients, do they try to give them a good rate or they are just sticking to the ALCO? No one? The managers are missing. Okay, anyone can answer. You all think of your own experience. When pricing a client, what I want to know is whether you all are giving the ALCO rate upfront or whether you try to negotiate a kind of a spread above the ALCO. Yes, Samir. I also think the same. From my experience, what happens in the industry is without trying to do something else, you all know the risk yield curve, right? This is the risk yield curve. This side is risk. This side is risk. This is yield, income. Higher the risk, higher the income. So if your client, if you perceive that client to be carrying a higher risk, you can't be offering him the sheet rate. You got to price accordingly. Otherwise, you are not doing justice by your organization, by the bank, as well as by the stakeholders, because you got to have a risk premium, right? So always try to remember, guys, ALCO is just a guidance for you, right? ALCO is just a guidance. It doesn't necessarily mean that you should go all guns blazing and provide the client with the ALCO rate. That is not a proper banking practice. ALCO is there for you to get an idea. There are certain instances, if the client is really strong, you have to go below ALCO also. The problem with our banking is we are always ready to go below ALCO, but we are really reluctant to canvas or market the client a higher rate. If you have a proper discussion with the client, if you understand the business, if you understand the client's background, then you can price him accordingly, regardless of the competition. I assure you, because I have done that, right? But you have to be careful. It cannot be a rate unreasonable. Client should be able to pay it, right? And you have to have a certain eye on securing the business as well with the competition. Whilst keeping all those thoughts in mind only, you have to come up with a rate. Otherwise, the next day you turn up and say, "Me boss mehema kiwane loku rate gahanna kiwa kiwa business එක නැති වුණා කියලා." No, that should not be the case. It's a balancing game, right? For you to balance the game, understanding client's business and client background is the key. Right? Okay, let's see how you can do that. Personal customers, how can you identify? We can have a chat about his lifestyle, right? The way he dresses, the vehicle he uses. Sometimes it gives a positive impression, sometimes it gives a negative impression. Sometimes even if he uses one of the top-notch vehicles, it might give us a negative impression. That is the experience of the credit officer. I mean, when you analyze his business, his monthly profit is at 50,000. He's driving a Range Rover. There's a mismatch. Then you should know, though our normal assumption or the normal the tendency is, okay, this guy came from a Range Rover, that guy drives a Demo Batta, this guy must be good. Completely wrong, right? If both guys are making net profits of 50,000, if this guy is driving the Demo Batta, I would not even consider lending the Range Rover guy, provided he is not having any other source. If he is born rich, if the vehicle is given by his father, then that's a different story, right? People are sometimes blessed. That's a different story. But if he has leased it out and purchased it, then I have an issue. The way he dresses, whether he is messy or not. Place of work, you got to visit that place, you got to talk with his or her workers. Then you get to know. the way he treats people, his management style, and maybe the information he has given us of sales and stocks. Always cross-check, guys. Now customer says he is having a stock of 5 million. When I go on visit, customer visits or project visits, what I do is, if it is let's say a kind of a trading business, I ask one of the workers, how many times the lorry comes. He says, "Oka mahatya sati dehekata parak enne." Mokadda lorry ඒක එන්නේ අර මේ අඩි 20 මේ ලොකු මේකක් මේ ලොරියක්. Then you can back calculate and see ඒකකට කොච්චරක්ද, what is the capacity of the lorry, okay, what is the item he is selling, box type එක මොකද්ද. You can always ask. If you have to have a network, guys. Without a network it is not easy. Then how many packs can be loaded to a lorry of this capacity? Okay, this number of packs. What is the value of the stock? 1 million. Only 2 times the once every 2 weeks the lorry comes. Then for a month only 2 million worth stock is coming. If his entire working capital cycle is 1 month, then the customer is bluffing, saying he's having a stock of 5 million. Either the 3 million stock is obsolete, or he doesn't have, he only has 2 million. If he has a 5 million stock, then the 3 million is frozen or outdated. You guys get my point, right? And type of work, income. You can visit the workplace as well as his home. From his home, you can get an idea whether he is a neat person, whether he works on a plan. Sometimes when you go, the door is not there, clothes are everywhere, it's really messy. You can get a teeny idea of his personal way, his thinking pattern, his attitudes, his personality. Right? Income from the bank statements, from books. Sometimes customers come and say, "Api mukut kare naha sa, api ate salli walata business karanne." Very difficult, guys. Then you have to find a different way, maybe the bill books. Right? There are people like that in Sri Lanka. To avoid taxes and so many different reasons, they do cash business only. Right? Then future expectations. Essential. This links to this thing I told you about. Anticipate customer needs and offer to fulfill them. Do you remember? So by doing this only, you can cater to that. Future expectations. When you know future expectations of the customer, then you are ready. Each and every suggestion or advice you make towards customers' business or spending pattern or borrowing product, you are making an informed decision, informed guidance. Now he is planning to buy a lease, Toyota Corolla motor vehicle, motor car, using a lease. Why? Because he thinks leasing rates are so down, he wants to go for a lease. Then when you talk with the client, you realize that, okay, within an year's time, now he wants to put a lease for 5 years. After the discussion, you realize he's planning to settle the lease after 1 year, because he's pending good cash inflow, anticipating a payment which is due in another 1 year's time, then you should immediately inform. It is true that the leasing rates are lower than the some of the loan rates also. But the problem is, if you go for a lease, as a technical feature of that product called leasing, you have the interest portion also embedded within the product. So if you are planning to settle it within an year, you will ultimately be paying for entire 5 years. So my advice to you is, even at a disadvantage of 0.5 or 1%, you may still move ahead with the loan. That is beneficial for you if you are planning to settle the facility before the maturity. Future expectations enable you making advising your customer in an informed manner. If you give them proper advices, it is a matter of giving them 2 good advisors, guys. Mark my word. Customers value advices. And after you provide that advice, if customer himself realize, okay, what that bank guy has told me is true, I have saved this many from not doing that. If he realizes it 1 or 2 times maximum, then he becomes a loyal customer of yours. Even if other banks come to him with lower rates, he would not move, because he knows, rather than compromising 1 or 1.5% rate, if you stay here, you will be saved from so many unwanted incidents. That is a big productive, effective way of creating customer loyalty, right? Family status, residence, from all those things, you can get an idea. You can understand the customer. Urban people have different needs. Rural people have a totally different this thing, right? Now, bank assurance is there, no? Some of us banks have the bank assurance product. When we are to sell it, right? Sometimes selling a medical insurance to rural people is not effective. They don't mind going to government hospitals. Even though he or she is rich, they don't mind, they prefer that. They don't feel comfortable at private hospitals. But they like the investment plan. They like the pension plan sometimes. Whereas some of the urban people, if they are using, all these branded vehicles and living in Colombo suburbs or Colombo city, they never want to go to a public hospital. So having a medical insurance becomes of utmost importance when they are at the age of 40 or 45. Identify the customer, then you can cater to them better. That is personal customers. When understanding corporate customers, it's a different ballgame, guys. We have to analyze the economic condition, the legislation, and since relatively there are nominal organizations which even private limited and public limiteds, they are virtual organizations. They only have the BR, incorporation certificate of incorporation. But generally, I'm talking when it is at company level, those organizations are relatively large compared to partnerships and sole proprietorships. So when they are to change their volatility to technology is kind of heavy, substantial. If they are to change it, they would have to incur a substantial cost. So when understanding the customer, you have to see what is the technology, whether this customer is highly tech savvy or still they are following the traditional routes. In the competition, we have to see. The market share we have to see, right? Now let's say we have the IBSL here. There might be not IBSL. Let's take IBSL. I cannot relate it to it because we all have professional students here. Take an A-level class, A-level class Sinhala English medium, mass class. You have a lot of such classes in Nugegoda, right? Near those classes, mass classes, you get a lot of petty cudders and small boutique type wayside joints, food joints. They heavily depend on that institute. The meals those kids require. If the institute closes, then they would also have to shut. It's a fabricated market. Right? They would not be able to survive on their own. Likewise, then the culture, financing. Culture part, you remember, McDonald's is, I would tell you that story. McDonald's, its CEO was asked which business they were in. What would have been his answer? Can I have some responses? McDonald's CEO was asked by an interviewer, which business are you in? What would have been his answer? Global business. Global business is global business relating to which industry? Tanuka, Hasini, guys, Faiz, you have been quiet for some time now. Indika? Food and beverage, Samara says. Yes, that's the obvious answer, right? But it was not. Fast moving consumer goods, yes. No. FMCG, no. They are into fast food. FMCGs are those Unilever and Hema's this thing. Yeah. But his answer was, guys, if you don't know the story, you wouldn't have guessed. He said, we are into real estate business. We are into real estate. Why? There are so many fast food joints around the world. But McDonald's is everywhere. And when they establish an outlet, just observe and see, they are the most prominent, most seen place in the town. So it's all about easy access and convenient locating. They are into fast food. Whenever you want to buy a thing, okay, as in McDonald's, there it is. Right? They were into real estate business. That is how they have positioned themselves. Whenever you want to have a quick snack, what is the first? If you have a burger craving, okay, McDonald's. Burger King, they captured the market using a different strategy. If time permits, I'll discuss all those stories with you later. But what I wanted to tell you is, McDonald's guys, they launched burgers in India. What happened? What happened? Did they succeed? What is McDonald's signature burger, guys? It is the Big Mac. Now KFC, when you say KFC, the meat comes to your mind is chicken. When you talk about McDonald's, what is their prominent meat? It's beef. Big Mac has beef in it. And they went and established outlets all over India. They weren't that successful. Why? Cow is considered a sacred animal in that continent. Right? So you have to be very careful. Then they changed it. They had a lot of chicken burgers and fish burgers and whatnot. Then the sales went up again. Same thing in Sri Lanka also. Do you think if you travel overseas, you would be able to find these biryanis and the birissas and mac rices and pizza rices in those global outlets? No way. Sometimes they don't even have a vegetarian option. Those are being tailor-made and introduced in Sri Lanka and in certain Asian countries just to cater to our taste buds, our requirements. We are a rice nation. We can't survive more than 6 meals without rice. We generate that high craving towards having rice and curry meal. Imagine a situation you spending 2 days at a hotel. Wouldn't you be eating rice though you have all these fancy spreads around you? You would. There's a Sri Lankan corner. You would definitely turn to the Sri Lankan corner after around 6 meals, tops. Right? So those things matter, guys. Culture. Then the way they have finance. I remember recently going and trying to acquire a good tea factory. Right? It was a very good business. Factory was running smoothly and they were facing severe financial issues. I went there and I analyzed. The problem was they were making operating profits, but ultimately making losses. What's the difference? They are geared too much. Company is running well, they are making profits, their averages are higher than the market rate, low grown average. Still, they are making losses because of the gearing portion. So their issue won't be solved by we going there and just lending another 15 or 20 million. What needs to be the requirement then? That particular tea factory owners had to pump around 500 to 600 rupees, 600,000 rupees each month to keep the cash flow running. Their crib was neat, all green. But when I took the information, right, that is why they wanted me to, wanted a fresh facility of 20 million to ease up their cash flows. But that won't solve their problem. The only way a bank could solve their problem is acquire the entire portion of credit and restructure it, dragging the period to 12 or 13 years and matching the cash flows. That's the only thing. Loading them with more credit would give them a temporary release, but ultimately their problems will be even heavier after some time. So you have to see the financing and operations, who is operating, what is the second layer, how knowledgeable are they, then sector specific issues. There are many in many industries. Some industries, when some factories are there needs to be soundproofing, and say water purification plants needs to be there. And sector specific issues, those are like legal issues. Sector specific issues can arise in situations like this pandemic situation. Then the Easter attack, entire tourism sector shut. What are they going to do? I can't remember the name of the company. There is a company which has more than 160, if the information I have been given is correct, more than 160 Audi vehicles, separate company. Their only client is Cinnamon chain, right? They have certain vehicles deployed at Cinnamon Grand, Cinnamon Lakeside, and all around the country. But as per the agreement, only when their vehicles are used only, they'll be given the full amount. Otherwise, they'll be paid a nominal charge. How to service the leases? Problem. There was another issue. I remember a client who was having, his business was transportation. Okay. He had, the prime movers, the big trucks with lots of wheels. Generally, it is being used to carry container boxes, or it is, it can be the base chassis can be converted to vehicle movers. He was the main vehicle mover, vehicle transportation of Bajaj, three-wheelers. He had around 4 to 5 prime movers, right? Good client, well paid. What happened? About 5 years back, government restricted, and if you believe it or not, around 3,000 three-wheelers were selling every week. And we wonder why the traffic is. Right? And there was a sanction. They cut it down, and these vehicles are obsolete. Who owns? I mean, even if you acquire, even the bank acquires, or even that customer tries to sell it, who would buy those specific kind of vehicles, prime movers? Nobody would want to buy it. Thank you, Mena. Nobody would want to buy it because the usage is very limited, right? So you got to see those sector specific issues, whether something like this would happen. I mean, after it happens, everybody can see it. That is like you blaming a cricket captain. Why on earth you didn't let this guy bowl? A spinner ball after a fast bowler getting whacked for 24 runs in an over. But if he puts a spinner and if he gets whacked, then the gurus and the analytics critics all will say you could have bowled a fast bowler. So everybody can criticize after something happens. Your talent needs to be identifying the problem beforehand. For that, guys, you need to have a certain maturity, network, information, sharp mind, and logical analytical pattern. And of course, with that, a good relationship with the customer, understanding of the customer. Of course, politics, one of the most volatile things, like our share market, right? Still, politics matter when it is a corporate customer. Okay, understanding businesses. In understanding a business, bankers adopt various methods to understand clients' business, and main methods are apply own experience. Yes. What do you mean by applying own experience? It is like when a customer comes and inquires about starting an Isoko tour, a prawn farm. You go and try to find a person, bank employee who is running an Isoko tour. No. Applying own experience means in your portfolio or in one of your colleagues' portfolios, or worst case scenario in your bank's portfolio, you trying to find a similar case. The way how it has, what are the strengths, how the loan has been structured, what are the payment patterns, when has it been granted, what are the key areas to look at. If you yourself is competent with that, that is super marvelous. What is the next best thing? When the customer puts all these jargon, when he bombards you with all these words, you kind of know. There's a nice, beautiful Sinhalese expression, "Gahadanna manusyata kola kadapana." Like that. He might be whacking on his own ground, but you jolly well know these are fairy tales. These beautiful, dreamy things cannot be done in the real world. That is if you have own experience. And if you have own experience, if you have already done those kind of projects, if you have already lent those kind of projects, then there is an added advantage when it comes to conducting interviews. That is the second one. What is that? In the interview, I have practiced this. When you put a certain point or two from that person's own industry, right? For an example, now now let's say when it comes to fishery, I don't know how many of you are exposed to fisheries, and even the same applies to cinnamon also, right? There are certain ways of paying the labor. It is on a profit sharing basis. In fishery, there are so many methods you use to catch fish. It's called Ritipanna, Dalpanna, Yotpanna. Likewise, it is being named after the equipment they use to catch fish. Right? So it varies. The profit share of the owner and the payment to the fisherman, it varies with the method. Sometimes it's half and half, sometimes it's 1/3, likewise. So when you name the equipment, when you name the method and ask, okay, how much, what is the profit sharing, or you just state it, okay, 1/3, you get 1/3, then for this is the cost, okay, then you are only left with 40,000 after each trip. No. When you put that point, customer realizes, okay, this guy knows about it. There's no point bluffing. From that point onwards, he tend to reveal the true nature of the business. which is a distinct advantage in us analyzing our credit, right? Make customer in conducting interviews also. There's another way. If you don't know anything about the business, just ask the client. Like in an interview, when you go for a job interview, more often than not, the first question you would get is, okay, tell us about yourself. It is an open-ended question. Then he starts working. You listen carefully, consciously, and try to understand the business without making a fool of yourself, right? At any given time, don't show that you don't know the industry he is talking of. From that point onwards, he would try to take you on right. Okay. Clarify your stuff. That's fine. You can clarify, but have the upper hand. By upper hand, I don't mean being a bossy character or being rude. You have to be humble. You have to be pleasant, make customer feel at home. At the same time, create that confidence inside the customer's mind that you know the business and you are a competent credit officer. Okay. Then make customer visits, inspections that we have already discussed. Even if there's nothing called a risk-free business, guys. No matter how busy you are, no matter how busy the customer is, if it is a new customer, having a project visit is a must. It is something you cannot skip. Nowadays, we were, I think we were among the last people who were taught the old school of banking. And having visits is one of the beautiful and most effective ways the old school had. There are things changed for the better and for worse, right? There are so many things. I'm not saying the old way of banking was the best. No, there are certain improvements in present practices. Agree. But making client visits is one golden thing which the old era had. It has to be continued. It is that much value adding, guys. So many benefits. You know where the customer is. You know about the business. The things customer explain using 1,000 words from one site. Within seconds, you can get a better picture by visiting. You create, you enhance customer relationship. Customer is happy when you visit, right? You can cross-check. You can cross-examine. And even when your management inquires, you would not make a fool of yourself. You can answer confidently. It is not like you listening from some guy and just repeating it blindly. You know what you are talking about and you are confident. If you are to recommend it on the first place, then you should first have confidence on that. No? Number one rule, guys, in lending, number one rule, even if the CEO of your company asks you to do, even if you are a junior credit officer, if you don't feel like recommending it honestly to your heart, don't recommend. That's the number one principle. You cannot recommend a facility cheating yourself, right? Deep down knowing, okay, this facility might go bad. I haven't taken sufficient mitigants, risk mitigants. If you have that thought, in mind. Fundamental error, you cannot recommend the credit to your superior. You deny it. That is the quality of a good bank, right? Based on management pressure, based on target pressure, never take a credit decision, right? So those things you can get a feeling, first-hand feeling by making visits and inspections. Analyze historical data, that we all do. Whenever a client comes, even sometimes in opening a new current account, we request historical data. If he's having audited accounts, okay, we take it. But as we all know, we know that it is highly distorted. Audited accounts are the dreamiest bluff prevailing in the country. Almost everyone does it. Unless otherwise, you cannot hide it because of the mechanism in sectors like tea. It gets recorded because you have to sell tea only through brokers. Otherwise, each and everyone manipulates. So, depending on audited accounts, I don't recommend, unless otherwise he promises that it is. If the customer promises you that okay, this is I have reflected my true picture, you take it. There's no other way of doing it. No? If customer is not ready to give anything else, and always the audited accounts will be normally 95% of the time they would show a lesser figure. So it's okay rather than showing a higher figure. But the problem is that it is not enough for you to justify the facility most of the time. Then you ask for management accounts. If the management accounts are not available and even the audited accounts also are not available, most cases, when SME lending, you can ask for all the source documents. They have some books. The small Kade Mudalali, he writes each and every transaction on his small notebook, that book. The bills, he has then his current account statements, bank statements, whichever the document he can provide as a source document. Bills of goods purchased, all those things, right? Then you analyze the historical data. But I'll come to that. In analyzing historical data, you have to be very careful. There are so many rules associated with it. I'll come to that later. It is an entirely different section. Then lead literature related to the business. That is another way. You don't have to look for encyclopedias now. You don't have to go to libraries or find newspaper articles. Just a matter of Googling it, right? And if you really want, you can get a third-party opinion. You always find some colleagues in your bank network who are specialized in certain industries. Some have granted so many loans to garments. Some people are specialized in hotel projects. Some people may be those specialized ones, the hydro electricity projects. Some people trading also, retail trading, groceries, some people hardware, some people construction. So while gathering those knowledge from the Google, from net, you can always get details from your colleagues as well. Effective, highly effective, right? Okay. Those are the 5 ways of understanding business. apply your own experience, conduct interviews, make customer visits, then you can analyze customers' historical data, then read literature related to the business, right? Okay, sorry. So let's move ahead. Problems of not understanding client's business. Wrong structuring of credit facilities. We have to talk about this. If you now, what happens if you just think of this situation, guys? You go to a doctor to get medicine. Does the patient know what is wrong with him? Unless otherwise he has received some medical opinion earlier also, unless otherwise he is relying and repeating the same information, he himself does not know, because he don't have that expertise. He doesn't have that expertise, right? So if the doctor also fails to identify the issue, just imagine a person having some kind of a heart problem, and doctor prescribes kind of a lung problem. What would happen? That's the end of the story, no? Same thing. Bankers, customers, most of the time rely, unless otherwise it is a large corporate where he has the capacity to hire specific technical expertise in the field of banking and finance. Customers rely on the information and the advice given by his banker, more specifically the relationship manager, credit officer. If he or she provides the customer with wrong information, then it's the graveyard for the customer. Okay. So we will discuss this problem in the next session. We'll wind up for now. I want you to, even the guys who will be going through this presentation on a later date, please go through the slides. Please understand what we have discussed. And if there's any gray area, you should always clarify it, get it clarified at the next session, right? Don't leave any gray area behind, because when we move ahead, there will be calculations, technical stuff. Then you get miss so kind of bamboozled along the way. That should not be the way. We all are here to get some knowledge, to enhance our capabilities. So that objective needs to be met. I am here to make sure it is done. So feel free, and I leave my number with you. In case of any issue, generally I do it at the end of my 4 sessions, but I'll do it right now. It's not 777 if you need to write it down. Not 777 583 134. It's not 777 583 134. For any clarification, you can drop me a text or whichever. I'm available on WhatsApp and anything. If not answered, if you try to contact me via a phone call and if not answered, just make sure you drop a text saying I'm a student from this session. I'll definitely call you back. Okay, guys, go through the slides. I don't want you to spend hours and hours and study and come, but just make sure before the next session, you at least browse through all this stuff we have discussed at least 2 times, spending 5-10 minutes. That is enough. Okay, agreed? Right. Then Have a beautiful evening and have a good week ahead. Okay, guys. Thank you.